received a 911 call from a male individual who stated that he had killed his entire family, and he was getting ready to kill himself.
He was like screaming so loud that the kids were even crying.
Breaking news tonight, just southeast of Wichita, the KBI investigating a shooting that left 5 people dead, including 4 children. A 6th person, the suspect, also dead.
6 people, 1 house. One Tuesday morning in a small Kansas town nobody had ever heard of, until now. 4 of the 6 were children. The youngest was 3 years old. And by the time this story is over, you're going to learn something that makes it so much worse. This wasn't a surprise. Police saw it coming. Teachers saw it coming. Neighbors saw it coming. Even the state had a file on this family. Everybody had a piece of the warning. Nobody put it together in time. This is the story of the Winfield family, and everything that happened before the morning, it all ended. Winfield, Kansas is the kind of town where nothing much happens. Quiet streets, small community, the kind of place where people know their neighbors. In 2024, a family moved into a rental house on West 9th Street, 1-story home, big front porch, paint peeling off the sides, nothing special, just another house on just another street. But this family was not like the others on that block. The man of the house was Ronald H. Williams Sr., 53 years old, 6'5", maybe 6'6", bald, big enough to notice when he walked into a room, and Ronald was carrying something with him that most of his new neighbors had no idea about, a criminal record that stretched back over 30 years. Back in 1997, when Ronald was in his 20s, he was involved in an incident with a 15-year-old girl in the Kansas City area. In 1998, he was convicted of attempted indecent liberties with a child. That conviction put him on the sex offender registry, a registration set to run until the year 2028. But that was just the beginning of his record, not the whole thing. Over the years, Ronald picked up charges for theft, battery, aggravated battery, violating a protective order, drug charges, assault on a law enforcement officer, burglary, attempted rape, kidnapping, endangering a child. These weren't spread across one county. They followed him through Wyandotte, Johnson, and Franklin counties, from the mid-1990s onward. One case from 2005 is worth sitting with for a second. Ronald locked a woman inside a home. He beat her. He strangled her until she blacked out. The only reason it stopped is because a neighbor heard something wrong and called the police. Kansas prison records show Ronald was in and out of custody starting in 1994. Over the years behind bars, he racked up 32 disciplinary violations. He was finally released from state supervision in January of 2016. And here's where it gets complicated. After his release, Ronald didn't pick up any new convictions for about 10 years. On paper, that's a decade clean, but federal and state law generally bars certain felons from owning a gun. So when Winfield police, years later, in 2026, actually checked with the local county attorney's office about whether Ronald was legally allowed to have a firearm, the answer they got back was that his conviction was too old to make it illegal.
That there are many, many federal and state gun laws governing who can possess a gun. But like every law, they're not 100% foolproof. A person may be outlawed from buying a gun, but he might buy a gun from another outlaw.
Let that sit for a second. A man with this record, guns in the house, and the system said, technically, legally, that was fine. Living with Ronald was his partner, Kelly L. George, 44 years old. Together, the two of them had 4 children, Carol, age 9, Ronald Jr., age 7, Sarah, age 5, and the baby of the family, 3-year-old Kelly, named after her mother. Birth records confirm Ronald and Kelly were the parents of all 4 kids. This wasn't a blended family, or a complicated custody situation. This was one household, 2 parents, 4 children, living together under one roof in that peeling white house on West 9th Street. Before Winfield, the family had lived in the Kansas City area and spent some time in Wichita. By 2024, they'd landed in this small town, and almost as soon as they arrived, something started happening that would define the next 2 years of their lives. The police started getting calls, and they wouldn't stop. Once this family settled into that house on West 9th Street, the calls to police didn't just start, they kept coming. Over the next 2 years, officers responded to that address more than 20 times. And here's the thing that makes it stranger. A lot of those calls came from Ronald and Kelly themselves, not neighbors reporting them, not somebody outside the family raising a flag. The couple was calling the police on their own, over and over again. And the complaints? They didn't sound like normal neighbor disputes. They sounded like something was seriously wrong. They claimed people were following them, not just around Winfield. They said this had been happening since Kansas City, through Wichita, all the way to this small town. Like someone, or some group, had been tracking them across the entire state. They accused construction workers near their home of being in the country illegally, and claimed those same workers had killed members of Kelly's family and were now stealing their identities. They reported a fake marriage, utility bill disputes, fraud claims. They told police the Department for Children and Families was watching them, driving past the house to keep tabs. Officers who responded to these calls started writing the same thing over and over in their reports. Agitated, delusional, possibly under the influence, possibly dealing with untreated mental health issues. One dispatch note from November 2024 lays it out about as bluntly as you can get. The officer wrote, and I'm quoting this directly, "I believe they are either both suffering from mental health issues or are taking illegal narcotics due to their agitated state and delusions. Use caution when dealing with these two. No report." Read that again. Use caution when dealing with these two. That's not a note about a noisy neighbor. That's a warning. And through all of this, the paranoia, the delusions, the agitation, there was one thing that kept showing up: guns. In October of 2024, Ronald was walking the kids to school when a woman walked by with her dog. He pulled a firearm on her. His explanation to police afterward was that he was protecting himself from the dog. Another time, he told an officer flat out that if Kelly's ex-husband ever showed up at the house, he would shoot him. Not a hint, not an implication. He said it. In October 2025, a FedEx driver used their driveway to turn his truck around, something delivery drivers do all the time, in driveways all over America. Ronald came outside yelling and pulled a gun on him. The driver decided not to press charges.
Ran over to the UPS driver, and the UPS driver put his hands up in the air. And the UPS driver called the police later and reported that he had a weapon, had a gun. But you'd still think there's probable cause there, right, for a warrant to see if a known felony offender has a gun in his possession.
Ronald, for his part, told police he didn't even have a gun. 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, before the killings, there was another incident involving the construction workers. Both Ronald and Kelly made statements involving firearms. Officers didn't record a direct threat to shoot anyone that day. But guns were part of the conversation. Again, and here's what should stop you cold. In almost every one of these incidents, there was no formal charge, no arrest. Because in most cases, the person on the other end, the dog walker, the FedEx driver, the neighbors, chose not to press charges. And without that, police had their hands tied. The warning signs weren't hiding. They were sitting right out in the open, over and over, for 2 years. And every time, the moment passed without anything changing. It wasn't just the police, fielding these red flags. The Department for Children and Families had an open case on this family, and police knew about it. Twice, Ronald and Kelly were so aggressive at the local DCF office that staff there considered banning them from the building. In September 2024, a caseworker actually called the police because of their behavior. By June of 2026, just 2 months before the killings, officers had to order Ronald to leave the DCF office and told him directly that if he came back, it would count as trespassing. A certified letter making that ban official was in the works. The agency itself has stayed quiet on whether there were formal child in need of care cases open. But the pattern is clear enough without that confirmation. Then there was the school, at Irving Elementary. Ronald and Kelly reported that older kids had bullied and sexually harassed their daughter Carol on pajama day, allegedly telling her to bend over, mocking her underwear. They complained when their son came home with a rainbow-colored bracelet, insisting, in their words, that they did not have a gay son. They claimed hospital paperwork describing a caved-in head on one of their children had been forged, part of some kind of cover-up. In February 2025, Ronald reported what he said was a crime at the school involving his 6-year-old son. The kids were enrolled in Winfield public schools for part of the 2024-2025 year. Then they were pulled out. Not long after, a private homeschool popped up, registered at that same West 9th Street address, called Williams Private School Family Owned. The district has confirmed the kids' attendance history. They have not confirmed the real reason they were withdrawn. And the neighbors? They saw it too. One woman who regularly walked her dog past the house remembers hearing Ronald yelling and screaming, loud enough that she told her own husband she was afraid he was eventually going to hurt his family. Another neighbor watched Kelly standing outside with the youngest child on her hip, trying to calm Ronald down while he worked on a car, visibly angry. Days before the killings, a neighbor's Ring camera caught Ronald loading up a vehicle, screaming profanity, threatening to destroy someone. That footage exists. That footage was recorded days before 6 people ended up dead in that house.
Joseph? Woo! Roselle, son! White boy killed my cousin, Joseph? That's what they got me set up in Butler County, bitch. You done killed my mother cousin, bitch. You killed my cousin, Joseph. Joseph in Butler County at a college, bitch, killed my cousin Joseph and my cousin Benji. I'm about to you up, bitch. I'm about to your ass off, bitch. Trust and believe that. This mother killed my cousin, mother Joseph, and killed my cousin Benji. In Butler County, you got me a chicken in Butler County. Woo! Woo! Mother. Oh. I got you now. I'm fine. I found out. Did, bitch. You killed my mother, cousin, and Joseph. Yeah, and Benji. Yeah, I got you. Showing them. I got you. Showing them. I got you. Oh, yeah, I got you. Oh, yeah. They killed my cousin Joseph and Benji when my cousin was found in the mother room and his body was decomposed. You had something to do with that. Killed my whole family. They killed my mother. That bump, sorry, bump. and the county after you done killed my cousin at college. Hey, when we went to Oklahoma, when she tried to see you when we went to Oklahoma and caught that in the store. She went to Verizon store when we was in Oklahoma and tried to say that was us, went to Verizon store, but we never went to the Verizon store. It was this bitch, and it shows her house. It shows that house right there, next door to our house.
By the time August rolled around, this wasn't a family with one or two isolated incidents. This was a household that police, teachers, social workers, and neighbors had all flagged, separately, repeatedly, for 2 straight years. Everybody had a piece of it. Nobody connected the dots in time, and then came the Tuesday morning that ended it all. Tuesday morning, mid-August, Winfield, Kansas, is just waking up. At 8:50 a.m., a 911 dispatcher picks up a call. The man on the other end identifies himself as Ronald H. Williams Sr. His voice is calm, direct. He tells the dispatcher he has just killed his entire family, and that he's about to kill himself too. Then he hangs up. As it happens, officers are already close by. They're 2 blocks away, working an unrelated traffic accident. Within 2 minutes, they're standing outside 408 West 9th Street, the same house with the big front porch and the peeling white paint that neighbors had been watching for 2 years. As the first officer moves toward the door, a single gunshot goes off inside. It's 8:52 a.m. The officers pull back immediately. From the outside, all they know is there was a call, there was a gunshot, and there could still be someone alive and armed inside, so they treat it like a barricade situation. They set a perimeter, and then they wait. For almost 2 hours, that house sits there in silence, while police hold the line outside. No movement, no more shots, no contact. At 10:57 a.m., officers finally breach the front door. Inside, they find 6 bodies. All 6 had been shot. Ronald H. Williams Sr., 53, his partner, Kelly L. George, 44, and their 4 children, Carol, 9, Ronald Jr., 7, Sarah, 5, and 3-year-old Kelly, the baby of the family, named after her mother. 6 people, 1 house, 2 hours of silence that ended with the worst possible outcome. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation was called in almost immediately, working alongside Winfield police to piece together exactly what happened inside that house. That evening, Winfield Police Chief Robbie DeLong stood in front of reporters. He called it one of the hardest scenes he'd witnessed in over 20 years on the job.
Obviously, this is a very tragic day in our community. At approximately 8:50 a.m., our officers received a 911 call from a male individual who stated that he had killed his entire family and he was getting ready to kill himself. Fortunately, officers were in the area working another incident and responded pretty much immediately. First officer on scene was approaching the house when they heard a single gunshot. At that point, they retreated. There was no other indication of any other loss of life, and so standard protocol was to set up a perimeter and start working the incident as a barricade situation. At approximately 10:57 a.m., after enough backup and other methods had been exhausted, the decision was made to attempt to breach the front door just to see if they could see inside what was occurring. Immediately, the door was breached and officers called for assistance and medical. There inside, they located 6 individuals deceased. Of those 6, included 1 male suspect, 1 female resident, and a total of 4 children, ages 3 to 9. At this time, due to the size and scope, the decision was made to call the Kansas Bureau of Investigations for assistance. They responded, and at that time we started just coordinated efforts to work through the scene.
Whenever we arrived on scene, we confirmed that there were indeed 6 deceased individuals inside the residence, and I'm actually going to read off their names now. The suspect in this, the shooter, is Ronald H. Williams Sr., a 53-year-old male. The 5 other victims in this case are Kelly L. George, a 44-year-old female. The next victim is Carol A. Williams, a 9-year-old female. The next one, Ronald H. Williams Jr., a 7-year-old male. Sarah K. Williams, a 5-year-old female. And Kelly M. McGee-Williams, and she was a 3-year-old female.
So I can say that we've had contact with Mr. Williams, some erratic behavior. I can't say that anything would have indicated that we would be where we are today.
He acknowledged what a lot of people in town already knew, that police had dealt with Ronald before, including erratic behavior in the weeks leading up to that morning.
I don't know what else we could have done, really, because there are a lot of phone calls made. The police doing everything they can, seeing something escalate and not being able to do anything because a law has not been broken or a boundary line has not been stepped over, and that has left us with where we're at.
But he was honest about something else too. Nothing in those prior encounters had pointed to this. For the first day, the story being told was simple. One man, one breakdown, one act. Then, on August 14th, everything changed. The KBI and Winfield police released an update that reframed the entire case. According to investigators, evidence showed that Ronald Williams and Kelly George jointly shared responsibility for a premeditated plan to kill their children and then themselves. This wasn't a fight that got out of control. Investigators found no sign of an argument or a physical struggle before the shootings. This was planned, and here's the detail that changes how you have to look at everything that came before it. The gun recovered at the scene, the Taurus .38 special revolver, wasn't Ronald's. Kelly had purchased that weapon herself, back in February of 2025, 6 months before it was used to end her own family's life. Investigators confirmed there was no indication anyone else was involved, just the two of them, a plan they built together and carried out together. On an ordinary Tuesday morning, there would be no trial in this case, no courtroom, no sentencing, because both of the people responsible for planning it were among the 6 found dead inside that house. What remained was the paperwork, the case file being compiled by investigators headed for the Cowley County Attorney's Office, documenting a pattern that stretched back years. A criminal history over 3 decades long, more than 20 police calls, an open case with the Department for Children and Families, school conflicts, guns pulled on strangers, again and again, with no charges ever sticking, and finally, a plan 2 parents made together, ending 4 children's lives before ending their own. As of mid-August 2026, that investigation remains open. Within days, flowers and children's toys and small angel figurines started showing up outside that house on West 9th Street. Neighbors organized a 5-night vigil, just porch lights left on in the dark. A prayer gathering followed, focused on nothing but healing. The questions in Winfield didn't stop there, though. How many red flags does it take? 20 police visits, an open DCF file, a registered sex offender with a 30-year record, legally allowed to own a gun because his conviction was too old to count against him. Neighbors who heard the yelling and still didn't know how bad it really was. Some in town say the system's hands were tied, that police can only do so much when the people being threatened won't press charges. Others say that answer isn't good enough, not when 4 children are dead. There's no clean lesson here, no simple fix to point to, just a record, now fully documented, of every moment someone could have stepped in, and didn't. 4 kids who never made it past the age of 9, and a small Kansas town that will be asking these questions long after the headlines move on.